the DKB Ice Canal, Altenberg, Germany, and it is raining as we get ready for the second deciding heat of round 6 of the Wiesmann FIBT Women's Skeleton World Cup. Well, after a dry morning, the heavens have opened on this women's skeleton race, and conditions could hardly be worse. Well, they could. It snowed enough to call the race off after one heat last year. That shouldn't happen here. Well, hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, and sitting alongside me in the warm and dry is men's Olympic skeleton champion John Montgomery. John, you gotta hope that it doesn't turn into this tomorrow, right?
Well, I've got my fingers crossed. I'm not holding my breath though, because I may pass out. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're gonna get more of the same tomorrow.
Off the slowest start, barring one in the first heat, Germany's Marion Thies turned in a third fastest run. Now, she's in the medals already, but how does she do it?
She's got exceptional form, great driving lines, and good equipment. You know, those three things combined allow her to be exceptional as far as her competitiveness is concerned, because her start just isn't, unfortunately, for her.
Well, she gives away 0.4 of a second to teammate Anja Huber, who was the fastest of the starters. Last year's race winner is in the hunt for another victory here in Altenberg, but the girl from Bischofswiesen in Bavaria lies second after Heat 1. She's quarter second back, John. Do you think she can bridge that gap?
This is one of her home tracks, and over Katie Eulander, who has some familiarity with the track, but it's not one of her home tracks. Anja's got as good a chance as any to be able to pick away at that margin and claim a victory here today over Katie, but Katie's not going to give it to her. There's no question about that. Great slider, always cool, calm, and composed for the most part on the track. She's had some, ups and downs this year. A couple wins, but some lackluster results as well. So let's hopefully she can be consistent and maintain her heading on the second run.
Well, all three of the girls in the top 3 positions have won races this season. Katie Eulander has won 2 in Salt Lake City and in La Plana last time out before Christmas. She leads now, and she will go last of the 20 sliders. 4th place, Noel Piker's pace, and the American will join us in the booth tomorrow to call a men's race. And again, with Lizzie Arnold right behind Marion Thies. That's a close battle for that bronze medal, and who knows, maybe more.
There could be some real flip-flopping today. You know, Mother Nature is going to be battling all of these ladies. They're going to hate her today because it's not going to be getting faster out there. It's not going to be letting up as far as the rain and the conditions are concerned, and it's going to be up to Ralph and the boys to maintain the integrity of the ice so that we can have a semi-fair race today. You know, the girls at the top of the order got the best ice in the first round. Now the girls at the bottom of the order are going to have the best ice on the second round. So it is fair, relatively speaking. And you can see Melissa there and the girls prepping their sleds in Parc Fermé between runs. Checking their rock, resetting it. The rock is the bow that you put in that runner so that you've got less contact surface area on the ice when you're sliding. More rock is less control, but it also equals more speed if you can handle it. So today with the slippery conditions out there, some of them might be putting it down just a notch so that they've got a little bit more contact patch and a little bit more control on this water slide of an Altenberg track here today.
Of course, the other thing is the ice temperature. It's +3 nominally. Of course, it won't be. It'll be at about freezing, but it's certainly not -10. So you can't use such a small contact patch. It'll just dig in.
You can't. It will bleed speed because it will, like you said, dig into the ice a bit more. If you get a little bit off a center, it's going to act as that hockey skate as we've described in the past.
Well, what about this track? It's got a reputation as being a really tricky track and quite dangerous and difficult.
It can be ominous for a beginner slider to come here, and even for some of the vets. Corner 4, corner 10 can be really tricky, and it's got one of the longest starts next to La Plana in France there, so you have to get over this crest before you dive onto your sled. Right just back there by that wood is something you can use visually. Coming into corner 1 here, the idea is to avoid that build-up on the left. At this point, you take the sled a bit high and off the wall so you can stay off that left-hand side. Those who don't navigate it properly, you'll see hit the left wall there. Coming down the straightaway between 2 and 3 here, the idea again is to avoid this build-up on the left, get in, and early over to 4. Use that profile to set a low line at the beginning, because the higher you get, the lower you're going to get, and the higher you are here, the more likely you're going to get topsy-turvy at the entrance of 5, as you saw there. That's a really tricky corner. If you can nail 4, you're really laughing, because the next tough part here is trying to get the corner 9, which is coming up right now. The idea is to get in early, take it to the roof, and dip under this very last little pickup that you can get. You can see this athlete gets a little bit squirrely there. You can hear the runners skidding. If you hear that, you know it's not good. First pressure in Kreisel is a big pickup. You can let the second one go a little bit, but the idea is to get here high at the end of the corner so you can dip under that fourth pressure. Some of the athletes will get pushed off the corner of 11 there early and sometimes get a little bit topsy-turvy in 12. Coming into 13, really high pressure, high G corner. Coming into 14 is a lot like 9. You want to take it high and then low and stay off that second rise. Coming over the negative G corner, you want to keep those runners parallel and straight, do as little as possible because it wants to send you sideways. Corners 16 and 17 are two different corners, but you can actually turn it into one, and if you do that successfully, you'll stay off the left wall, crossing the finish line there at the end.
Olympic champion John Montgomery takes you for a bird's-eye view down the track. Sophia Griebel of Germany, who made her World Cup debut in Heat 1 on this track. A former race winner here. She is the track record holder, but she is not, it looks like, in a shot for the medals. Top 20 from Heat 1 go into Heat 2 in reverse order of their first-round performance. So Olga Korobkina will be first away, and the first Heat leader, Katie Uhlaender, looking for her third race win of the season. She will be last to go. Well, the rain, if anything, got a little harder over the break, so the track conditions are very variable. Top of the track at the DKB Ice Canal in Altenberg, Germany. It's Wiesmann World Cup number 6 for women's skeleton, and there in the gloom at the top with the lights already on at just 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the first of our 20 starters in the second and deciding heat. Russia's Olga Korobkina, with the top 3 Russian girls all the way training in St. Moritz for the World Championships. It is Russia's 4th, 5th and 6th place selections that are in the field. Korobkina off the 19th fastest start, 6:05 in the first heat, 6:23. John Montgomery should have hoped to have got a little bit better than that.
Well, and you might be experiencing some of the frost that was building up in that spur there. You can see that she got a bit of a wiggle at the end. I know they're trying to do their best to maintain that start, but it's definitely working against them right now. And she seems to be having some decent lines here on her second go at the track. You can tell that they've done some preparation to it. A lot of that standing water is now removed. You can see it sort of looks a bit glistening down the straightaway there. And not quite as frosty, I think, as it was on the first descent.
We've seen rivers of water running down the track from the consistent rain. Puts you in mind almost the World Championships in Lake Placid in 2009, where it was just whitewater rafting.
And it was eerily reminiscent of the 07-08 World Championships here in Altenberg, which was definitely rain affected, but all 4 heats counted in that particular sporting event. 1:03.07.
Wow.
Definitely slower.
Yep, that's a couple of tenths of a second slower than, or 1/10 of a second slower than her first run. And of course, you know, the more water falls on the ice, the softer the tiny little surface layer that you actually run on is going to be.
And the more that it comes in contact with your runners when you get that frost. Early entrance into 4, maybe a bit too early, actually. You can see her get a little bit out of control, bumping that right-hand wall, coming down the straightaway and dragging the toe on into Kreisel. Does a good job of controlling that first pressure, not getting up into the frost. Lets the second one get a little bit away from her, but you can do that here. You want to have your third pressure high enough that you can carry some height around and dip under that fourth pressure in Kreisel.
Olga Korobkina of Russia is the race leader then. And next up, Joske Leconte of the Netherlands. Decent start, 5:76, 9th fastest. But the bottom half of the track was not tidy.
This should tell us what the start is actually like here with a 5:89, so definitely slower. 5:76 on her first, nearly 15 hundredths slower on her second start.
Again, you can see lots of water here, but up in that covered start area, maybe it is frostier and stickier, like your icebox in the refrigerator.
I suspect. You can see the top of corner 5 there, frost really evident, and it's obviously playing havoc on some of these athletes. With a 1.2 second advantage over Olga. She's definitely cleaned up her second descent here. Another 1.2 advantage. She's still got that same heading. Here, her face dragging through Kreisel. Really high pressures in through that corner. Some of the highest pressures you're going to experience on this track, except for 13, where she's going in right now.
Speeds into the Kreisel, 75 miles an hour. 65 down at the bottom.
Having a better second go here. Her time is going to be slower. 1:02.25. Actually, 500ths quicker than her first descent. So a better run on poorer conditions. So tells us that she probably could have been quite a bit faster on her first descent.
Yeah, the first run, she got pretty wayward on the run down to the Kreisel. It was hard to tidy it up after that. British coach Andy Schmidt, you saw at the top, who helps out with the Dutch program.
Does a good job of controlling that first pressure. You can actually visually see where the frost is building up at the top of that track there. Controls the second one very well. Does minimal steering here. Keeps that toe down all the way through the exit of the corner, but manages to stay off the entrance of corner 11, which gives her an opportunity to be low through 11 and 12 and set up a nice entrance to 13.
Well, there is Joske Leconte of the Netherlands. The 25-year-old is our race leader, as Olga Nikandrova of Russia is ready to go. 18th after the first heat. She was nearly 3/10 up, over 2/10 ahead of Leconte from the first heat. Here she adds to that a little.
5:92, so just a margin bit slower than her first push, which is good for her. Maybe now that a couple of athletes have gone down, they've cleared out that start spur. Nice smooth line through 4. Really beautiful line there. 3/10 of an advantage going into corner 6 and 7.
Nikandrova previously raced in the World Cup in the States, in Lake Placid and Salt Lake, made the cut in Placid, not in Salt Lake.
Ooh, skidding the sled a bit there on the third pressure is definitely going to eat up her speed. She's had 4/10 going into Kreisel. That 2400's coming out might disappear to Joske Leconte by the bottom of the track. Only 800ths of an advantage with 104 speed. The Joske's 105. I think we will have Joske remain in the leader's box here as Olga, too, crosses the finish line. Oh, and she keeps that margin. Good for her. Really good exit at corner 14 allowed her to keep that heading and kept that 400ths margin crossing the finish line.
Yeah, one of the things we say about any of these ice sliding tracks is all the corners are difficult. You can crash on any one of them, and you can win or lose a race in any one of them as well.
It doesn't have to be really challenging to mess it up, and it doesn't have to be really challenging to cost you dearly. As you saw in the women's bobsled race earlier, it cost at the top of the track. Really letting the pressures in Kreisel go here. Got really high on that second one, actually, but then skids her sled on the third. And that really ate up a lot of her momentum. She was lucky to be able to keep that 4/10 advantage she had going into Kreisel because she screwed up the end of the corner.
Olga Nikandrova of Russia then, your race leader. Next up is Catherine Eustace of New Zealand. 4th fastest starter off a 5.71 getaway. Down to the Kreisel, she looked good. Below that, it was another story.
Again, with that slip, she did the exact same thing on her first run. Her last foot strike, which is supposed to be effective and give you momentum onto your sled, slipped out again on her second push.
It's facetious to say it's very slippery. Of course it is. It's sheet ice, but there's definitely something about the way she's loading here as she gets wild off 4 and 5.
Avoided a complete yard sale, which is what can happen at the end of 4 if you don't catch that second pressure, and she just caught it in time to only get a bit topsy-turvy.
Well, she's 2 kilometers an hour down in terms of speed. That's not going to go well.
105 coming out.
Best result this season for her, 13th in Winterberg.
Decent exit at corner 14. She was a 400ths deficit. Olga had a good exit as well, so she may not be able to get that back.
No,
she falls further.
Not. Drops down a 102.64, and that will leave her, well, she's in 3rd place now. That'll leave her likely 19th. Last year, she was 9th.
Bit of a disappointing day for her, and, you know, you got a few different things working against her today. Last year was just a 1-run heat. Today she had to be consistent twice, but there you saw the exact same thing happen to her on her second load, and she's really going to want to improve on that in next week's race in Königssee, which she's already looking forward to. I can promise you that. Really low through corner 4 and high. She's underneath the blinds there before she comes out and gets what we call the scorpion into 5. That back leg, bet she's standing on dry ground. She can't do that with her body, but it's amazing what the sport of skeleton does to you. It forces play on your body when you're descending the track and make a mistake.
Shows how relaxed you got to be on the sled as well. Next up, Lelda Prietulena of Latvia. Didn't make the cut in last year's race. She was 16th in the first heat here.
Loaded a bit early on her sled here. Could have had a better than a 585 getaway if she had just taken 4 more steps, 2 on each leg, and got over that crest. Nice line through corner 4 and avoids that scorpion into corner 5.
24 hundredths of a second the lead. She remains in front of Olga Nikandrova of Russia.
119.9. Those speeds are much better. I don't even know if that's correct because they were much slower on the first heat, and they're only doing 107.9 coming out. So I'm not sure if that's an error on the radar gun coming out of corner 9, because those speeds are quite high and then quite low coming out.
Well, she's faster than the Russian leader out of the Kreisel. The gaps come from 14 hundredths up to 4 tenths, and then 33 hundredths at the line. So there's a lot of variety in the lines that the girls are using or something, because speeds are going up and down all over the place.
And they may be taking that speed at the entrance to Kreisel on this run as opposed to the exit of corner 9 on the last one. You're going to accelerate down that long straightaway, and that might be the reason for the difference that we're seeing in speeds when they post it on that Kreisel entrance. Here's her start. Lilde is a strong starter. She just needs to take a couple more steps. You can see she's still flat and now starts to descend. If she would have taken a couple more, she can find a few more precious hundredths, which by the bottom of the track have a multiplier effect. If you can increase your start speed by simply a tenth at the top, it's sometimes as much as 3 tenths by the bottom of the track. Don't ask me about the math. I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's what I've been told by people who are much smarter than myself, which is nearly everybody.
15th after the first heat, UK's Donna Crichton. British girl started 5.64 in the first heat. That was the second quickest getaway, 5.64 again.
Did a good job of avoiding the left-hand wall into 1, but unfortunately became acquainted with it on the exit of 1 on that run. Ooh, a bit early into corner 4. Gives her a nice flat line, but definitely brushes some momentum. Santa Kyriasis did that on her first run in the women's bobsled race and was paid a dearly price for it. Nice and high through corner 9. Great exit of that corner, doing minimal work to stay off the walls, but entered Kreisel just a touch later than she would have liked to, I'm sure. Skids the third pressure, which is going to eat up some of her speed. But with that 7 tenths in the bank, I think she should be able to maintain her position. Still 7 tenths with 104 speed. She keeps the shiny bits down, and she's going to be your new leader, ladies and gentlemen.
101.66 in the first heat, 101.65 in the second heat. Well, you wouldn't say 2 identical runs, but 2 runs with a variety of various different problems in them.
And that's the thing. You fix the mistakes that you made on your first run, and you're happy about that, but then you mess up somewhere else, and you've got to come back another year to get it all dialed and have a run that you can really be proud of. A much later entrance than what she would have liked. And by late, I mean she's coming in on the right as opposed to the left. The pressure is so great and the radius so tight at the beginning of Kreisel that you really want to enter early on the left and drag that toe quickly. Running up the outrun, trying to get off the track there.
Yeah, hurrying to the leader's box stroke to get out of the way. Svetlana Vasilieva of Russia. She is next up. 14 spots after the first heat. She's the top Russian here. Their top 3, including the new junior world champion, Yelena Nikitina, are all away elsewhere training.
Prepping for world championships, trying to get in a few extra runs.
5.76, 5.71 first getaway.
So that's fairly consistent. Maybe we just, oh, bit skiddy down to 3. Maybe the start's not as bad as we predicted after those first 2 athletes. Nice and smooth through 4. Really low again through the exit of corner 4. And she might be overdriving that corner to achieve that line.
2 tenths behind Donna Crichton. Unless she has a genius run through the Kreisel and on down, she's not going to close that margin.
Textbook 9, nice and early into 10 as well. Lets the second pressure go a little bit. We saw her do that on the first run too.
Lost the speed gun at the entrance to the Kreisel. 103.6 to 108 on the exit. That's not good at all.
And another beautiful corner 14. She's really got those two corners dialed, 9 and 14. She just needed to figure out Kreisel a little bit better, because coming through that second, third pressure in Kreisel, she was waving too much. She's got a 5th place rank on that run, dropping her to 2nd place overall.
0.8 of a second slower on that run than in her first heat. That perhaps reflects a little bit of Svetlana's lack of experience on this track recently. Hasn't raced World Cup here in 3 seasons.
Coming out of corner 2, you can see that she's looking to get off the corner, and the back end breaks out of her. Coming back and hitting there. Rough entrance into corner 3. Too bad for her.
And you can see her toe dragging through the puddle. It is Donna Crichton of Great Britain who leads. Svetlana Vassilieva of Russia second. There's your race leader. Lelda Prietulana of Latvia in 3rd spot.
Pumping the tunes down to the finish line.
Canada's Sarah Reid, 13th after the first heat from an electrifying getaway, got as far as corner 1, John Montgomery, before it all went sideways.
Yeah, the wheels unfortunately fell off the bus on the exit of that groove, and now it sends her the other way. She's a bit late to corner 1, but that should play to her advantage, keeping it off the left wall, but she still took a small nick, pushing her away from 2, having to do more work to navigate through corner 2 than she would have liked, and a bump before 3. Sarah's not off to a roaring start once again.
Well, the start time says a 5.84 compared to 5.69 in the first heat. Can that be right?
Well, it very well could be. And I just saw an exit from corner 4 that I have never seen from another athlete in my life. She came late out of corner 4. That was bananas to me. She must have really skidded in the corner that we didn't see, because she's 1.8 seconds back going into Kreisel. And unfortunately, this is going to be a day that Sarah Reid wants to forget, but will be reminded of when she looks at her overall rankings at the end of the season, because this isn't going to be a fantastic result, unfortunately.
Well, she's 62 inches of electrifying performer. She won the opening World Cup of the year in Lake Placid. It's going exactly in the wrong direction here. Wow.
Yeah, and that was all from the top of the track. Corner 4 is where it really went bad, and we can't actually see the mistake, I don't believe, because she came out, like I said, like I've never seen somebody come out of corner 4 before. Ideally, if you could have that and not do a lot of work, that would be awesome, but it's just not possible without really skidding your sled somewhere. Corner 3, you can see her get a little bit squirrely here, comes back towards that wood on the right-hand side, and bumps before 3. That's going to push her late and give her probably a really hard cross into 4. And that might be where she broke out badly.
Grey, miserable. Oh, and it's raining out.
Yep. All of the above. Check the boxes for the kind of weather that you don't want to compete in.
Lucy Chaffer of Australia. 11th place after the first heat, just 400s away from a top 10 finish.
Unfortunate load for Lucy there. She missed her saddle on when she was trying to load onto her sled, and kind of had a really tough, floppy start.
Chaffer finished in 10th place in the race last year. Very different snowy conditions. Can she break into the top 10 here? Ooh, dear.
3/10 back, and this might be evidence of a deteriorating top of the track, that these people just aren't able to compete. Already 7/10 back. We continue to see this type of trend, and I think you will see the officials call the race. 8/10. We'll have to see somebody else come down the track who doesn't have a poor top. Lucy's wasn't exceptional as far as her lines were concerned, so that might be lending itself to doing not that great here at the bottom.
The other factor, of course, is that Donna Crichton had a much worse bottom half than probably the top half of her first run reflected, so she's climbing back maybe closer to where she should be.
Yeah, that's right.
But, yes, you're right, Lucy Chaffer
looking at the sky as well, maybe crediting some of these leapfrog positions she's taken up to Mother Nature.
But again, look at the water just running down the hill towards corners 15 and 16 through corner 17.
Now you'll watch here as she goes down on the start. When she tries to load on her sled, she misses her handle grab when she switches hands. right there. I guess on the second one, she did have a nice recovery. It looked a little worse in fast motion, but she made a nice, valiant effort to regain her composure, but she did hit at the exit of corner 1.
Well, Lucy unlikely then to overhaul her teammate, Michelle Steele, and break into the top 10.
Here comes teammate, the two-handed pusher and smallest athlete on tour on the women's side.
Well, now, I have that down as Sarah. We ought to have a standoff between them, a measure off. She gives her height officially as 5'4", Sarah's 5'2", so who knows?
Yes, I think there might be some musculature differences between the two. Got to push off at the exit of corner 1. Like I was mentioning, you want to take it high in 1 so you can come off and avoid that left-hand hit.
Again, starting very close to her first run, 5'73", 5'78".
Nice navigation through 4. You saw her first wave a bit higher than some of the girls, which means she let it go and really caught the second pressure, which means she's doing a little bit less, maintaining some speed and energy.
Well, didn't have the speed in the first speed trap that Donna Crichton did, off a slower start as well, and that seems to be affecting her all the way down now. She needs to catch up from the Kreisel.
And Donna, with that quick getaway, is picking up spots here all the way down the track over some of these other athletes. 105 for speed at the bottom of the track.
Well, that's quicker than Donna Crichton had, but Donna had 2 Ks quicker out of the Kreisel, so she should close a little, or at least limit the damage. She does close by nearly a tenth in those final 3 corners.
That looked like a decent run to me, and where I think the track is really slowing down, where you start to see the deficit, it's got to be somewhere between corners 4 and corners 9. That flat section of the track there could be significant frost buildup there, and when they're coming out of corner 9 down the straightaway into Kreisel is where you see the athletes go from a positive position to a negative position.
So is the best athlete going to win this?
It could be the lucky athlete win this if they keep the race going. Real high second pressure there. And here she is dragging a toe at the exit of Kreisel, keeping it low enough that she doesn't get a flop or a big bang out.
Well, again, you know, coaches are going to say, oh, the weather conditions are not good, but you can look at these runs and see where the time is going.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of them are making significant mistakes, and we haven't seen one that I would actually say, that was a great run, that wasn't exactly fair.
We saw Kathleen Martini, winner this morning in the women's race for bobsleigh, cheering on Sophia Griebel. Silver medalist from the Junior Worlds in December.
Let's see if she can have a run that she's capable of. On the first one, I think she would call it a bit of a stinker, if you asked her honestly, because she is the track record holder, and she might have had some of those first World Cup jitters. Really low through corner 4.
She also started 1200 slower than her first heat. She's
already 2600s back. Donna had a blistering getaway compared to Sophia, so that's probably pretty legitimate difference so far. Let's see what the speeds are here.
Tracks neatly down the straight into the Kreisel. Donna Crichton had 108.1 on the exit.
This will tell us something. 109.2.
109.3.
So from your track record holder here with better speeds than Donna, she's going to be able to pick back some of that deficit that she had coming out of corner 9. 410s, 106.
Can she bring it back to lead here? That will be incredible if she can. 106 is the fastest we've seen so far. Third away.
And that's not that unrealistic, you know, with the difference of the start numbers and the deficit that she had going into corner 1. That's pretty realistic. She had higher speeds coming down the track, which tells you that she drove better, that the ice conditions aren't that bad.
I'll tell you what else is happening. Look at the flags. Look at the wind blustering across. It's really picking up. Well, the start, again, you know, 1400 slower.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, that 1400s deficit has a tendency to compound until you can reach maximum velocity. 45.7 compared to 47 kilometers an hour coming out of the start spurt. That's significant. That's going to play into Donna's advantage and the reason why she's still in the leader's box over Sophia.
Could end up being a big day for Donna Crichton.
Shelley was technically poor on her first start there, and I don't blame her. She's probably a bit weak from being absolutely ravaged with the flu this week, but if she can get a little bit more technically proficient here, which she already appears to be, she'll find some of that speed that she was missing on her first start.
If she can stop her teeth chattering and her head swimming, 6.06. That's 6.06. Well, that makes Marion Thies look relatively competitive. Shelley is clearly not where she needs to be, which is under the duvet, yeah.
But she went from like a 15th start on her first run. Ooh, a bit of a push off the entrance of corner 5, down to 4th by the exit of corner 9. So we'll see if she can have that same type of heading coming out of corner 9 this time. She's brought it back down, excuse me, to 0.10 deficit, but it's already increased to 0.3.
Gets the line back for the Kreisel, but working very hard to keep the line. And John, you know what you feel like when you're just sitting at home on the sofa with the thick heads, trying to travel at 75 miles an hour head first down the ice, takes a lot more concentration.
On one of the world's most challenging tracks with 2 training runs, you know, Shelley's got more than the weather to use as an excuse today if she's looking for one.
Well, she was 9th in the first heat. She's going to drop down to 18th place by the end of the run. There's partner Kristen Bromley, who is similarly sick and really probably shouldn't be here either. But well, any points have got to be taken when you can.
You're shrugging your shoulders when there's nothing you can do about the weather. That wasn't a pretty run, but she did probably pay a bit of a price for the weather conditions out here. We'll see how things continue to go.
1 minute 3.6 for Shelley Rudman. Will be the slowest run of the competition. Well, next up, Janina Flock of Austria. We're into now the fast 8. Donna Crichton, Great Britain leads. Is that a lucky feather, or is that just the lining of her coat coming apart? Janina Flock of Austria, next up, 8th place after the first heat. 21st place last year. Can she improve on where she is now?
Well, she's already going to get better than she did last year, because even if she crashes, well, she has to cross the finish line to get 20th. If she gets a DNF, I'd take a 21st. But a bit skinny down to corner 3. Early enough to 4. Nice smooth line through there, not doing too much work. And 6/200th of an advantage. She had a significant lead over the leader on the first run, so that might be why she still got that heading.
Yeah, Donna Crichton, who leads, was 15th after the first heat.
But she didn't lead that much.
No, she's holding on to it well. Exit speeds should be good. 105.4. Not great. Donna Crichton's was 108.
Oh yeah, but she did have a really tough entrance to the entrance of Kreisel there. She skidded her sled tremendously, and so the athletes are making mistakes, compounded with the weather. She's got the lead.
Wow, second fastest run, but she does take the lead. Well, it was Martin Rettel complaining about the conditions when Janina slid last year that got the second heat called off, even though plainly she had a fairly rubbish ride. But this time she does enough to take the lead and hold on to that top 8 finish.
I'm guessing he won't be saying anything on this particular day. Exit of Kreisel there, a little bit high, and takes a bump early. See, all those things, her entrance, her exit, those types of things are going to compound. They're going to lend themselves to her bleeding that tremendous lead that she had going into Kreisel. Skid out of corner 14. All these things can account for, realistically, why she did drop her time compared to Donna Crichton.
Well, a 102.23 for her to take the lead. Next up, Cassie Haresh, first time ever on this track, the reigning North American Cup champion.
She doesn't always slide with a lot of grip on her runners, and so we'll see how that... I think we might have had an issue with the start there on that run. I don't know if the green light didn't go. I'm not sure if I'm seeing things or not. Maybe it was she tripped the timing eye, and that's why the red light went. But we'll have to see when she gets to the bottom of the track.
Well, she started 5:87, just a few hundred slower than her first run, but a little wild and fishtaily. Already quarter second back on Janina Flock of Austria.
Coming down to 3/10, bit late into Kreisel. Really high first pressure, big dip, really letting it fly.
Really doing her best not to steer at all, John. We talked about
look at what she has for speed coming out there compared to Janina. At 105, she's got 107 coming out. And she did virtually nothing through the corner of Kreisel and really maintained a lot of energy. But with 103.6 and that hit out of 14, I don't know if she's got enough track to pick off Janine. No.
Drifts away into third place behind Donna Crichton.
But an exceptional job of navigating through Kreisel. You hardly see her drop a toe, and it showed in the speed that she had coming out of that corner.
Well, that was run number 8 of her life down this track, so 6 in training, 2 in the race. All adds to the experience.
It does, and you can see her get too high too soon in corner 14. She's down at the bottom of the corner before it's even done. And what happens is the pressure comes back, and she hits hard on the left-hand side. All she had to do was maybe downsteer at the entrance of 14 and carry that pressure around just a bit farther, but she took it to the roof much too soon.
Canada's Melissa Hollingsworth in 6th position after the first heat here. And last year's race, she finished 5th spot.
Melissa's got more World Cup races under her belt than any other active athlete on tour right now, and that includes Kristen Bromley, who's been on tour forever.
Yeah, since Job was a young man. 5.90 for Mel. Kristen Bromley in his 17th year of sliding for Great Britain.
Mel was only 300 slower on the start than her first run. Oh, she let corner 4 go just a bit too much, and she's going to pay the price for that at the exit of corner 4. Wow, when she got a bit topsy-turvy into 5 there.
She's gone 4 tenths back already. This is going to be a nightmare. Where's she going to find that speed? She's a second back into the Kreisel.
You just can't. When you don't have a good exit of corner 4 and the conditions are as they are right now, which is quite horrible, you're just going to continue to bleed time to the leader.
Wow, this is an absolute horror. Melissa Hollingsworth so far, her worst result has been an 8th place in Winterberg, Germany 4 weeks ago now. She'll be lucky to be in the top 15.
14, good call.
Aye.
Janine thinks it's a little funny because she knows that there's a few other factors at play here than just some bad lines and some mistakes that Melissa made, which...
Well, Melissa is 14th at the moment out of 15 sliders. There are 5 to go. That equates to just ending up at the bottom of the top 20.
Mel hasn't even seen the clock yet, but she knows she did poorly. You can't see the clock at that point, but she knows that right there when she went over at the entrance to corner 5, that did her in. She doesn't need to look at the clock. She knows where she's standing right now. She hasn't even seen it yet.
She doesn't
and
want
she
to
was
look.
shaking her
She's
head.
going to walk away. Cassie Haresh, her teammate, was in 3rd. Donna Crichton is in 2nd. Janina Flock leads. Lizzie Arnold of Great Britain next up. First ever World Cup race for her on this track. She only did 4 World Cup races last year. This was not one of them. On the Blackrock sled, yet another different variation of sled, and a 5.76 getaway.
Really fast start. Nice navigation at corner 1. Probably the best ones we've seen. Nice and early to 3 here. Nice and early to 4. Smooth line, doing a little bit of very little work, and just a small graze at the entrance to corner 5. She's going to maintain her heading.
She's in a very tight 3-way battle to get onto the podium in the bronze medal spot. All covered, 3 girls by 900ths of a second. So from here, anything's possible.
And with a top like she had, those other girls are going to be hard-pressed to compete with Lizzie because she's got potentially a bit more weight than some of the other girls. And on a poor track condition ice like we've got here, more weight carries you through some of those soft sections.
But she's come from half a second up to just 900ths in front. Now she's opened up a little bit more. Speed at the bottom, 1:04.7. Wow. She's gone up and down all over the place.
Wow. A 9th fastest run on the bottom of the track, but still 2 2600ths of a lead at this point in time. And she got time back.
We have got some very weird things happening on this track, and probably a lot of that is to do with standing water.
It does, but like I mentioned before, you're going to find that the heavier athletes really maintain their trajectory through some of these soft spots.
We're saying heavy, 72 pounds. Lizzie Arnold leads from Janina Flock and Donna Crichton. Final four sleds in this 6th Wiesmann World Cup for women's skeleton. Martin Haven and Olympic champion John Montgomery watching the returning American star Noelle Pikus-Pace in a battle for the podium, 4th after heat 1.
Look at the wheels on Noelle. Looked like a quick start to me. 581, not that much slower than her first push. Stays off that left-hand wall, which is definitely going to help her, especially when the track conditions are poor. She needs to get every ounce of energy and speed she can find. Doing little work. A nice exit of corner 4. Not very much of a brush into 5. Down 1200ths to Lizzie at this point.
She was 400ths of a second ahead of Lizzie Arnold in the first heat. 1200ths back.
Really smooth exit of corner 9. 1700ths. If she can do a little bit less work through corner 10 here. Oh, she skidded her sled on the 3rd pressure, and that's probably going to cost her. 107.7 for speed.
Better speed.
700ths down. She will be able to pick away at that.
Lizzie was 104.7 through the final speed trap. How close will she get? 105.2.
Nice exit of corner 14. She should be able to maintain some momentum.
It's going to be very close. Noelle Pikus-Pace looking for the lead and getting it.
She does. She finds that few hundredths, that 600th she was looking for at the exit of corner 14 when she had a better exit than Lizzie did.
Coach Tuffy Latour looked happy with that. Lizzie Arnold says goodbye from the leader's box. And Noelle Pikus-Pace from Eagle Mountain, Utah, on a sled of her own design, takes the lead.
Her husband built her sled, and you can see here, it does a good job of navigating that first pressure in Kreisel. She lets it go enough to maintain some energy and does her work on the 3rd pressure. I thought she skidded her sled, but it looks to me like she just dropped a toe and really turned it just enough to be able to come smoothly out of Kreisel there and keep some energy at the end of the corner.
Noelle Pikus-Pace leads for the USA with 3 to go. 2 German athletes next up. Marion Thies, who was 4th here last year. She lies in 3rd place. She is our current World Cup points leader.
Marion needs to keep this push below a 620. If she can be a 610, she's got a chance, really, to find some spots here.
She runs it over the brow to give herself the best opportunity. Is she into the 6s? 6:06.
6:06. Good for her. That's relatively close to her first push. Actually, that's faster. The only athlete to go quicker on her 2nd push, which is definitely going to play to her advantage here. There's that judo chop kick at the exit of 4, which the Germans are prone to do. Only 1500ths back at this point. I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to see a new leader here by the bottom of the track.
Let's look for the speeds. 107.7 is the fastest we've seen recently out of the Kreisel.
She's already got a 700ths advantage here. Bit of a skid on the 2nd pressure, but a beautiful exit.
108.5, she's in front and pulling away from Noelle Pikus-Pace.
And Marion is not one of the lightest athletes on tour, which is going to also play to her advantage. The 2 in front of her may be a bit lighter, and she's going to carry speed through some of these softer sections, and this could be your race winner here.
106.2, she'll take the lead with a 102.24. Well, that is still nearly 2 seconds slower than her first run, but it's enough to put her in a comfortable lead of a Noelle Pikus-Pace and Lizzie Arnold with 2 to go. And John, you're right, that might be enough to get her to the top step of the podium.
With Anya a bit lighter than Marion, she's going to probably decelerate a little bit more through some of the sticky sections. And Marion is known for being a speed merchant, and she found a lot of it at the bottom of the track there.
We're talking literally about only a couple of pounds in weight between the 2 of them, but Marion just somehow digs out speed where other people can't find it, and she looks pretty happy with that run, doesn't she?
She should be. And like, when I say heavy, it's a relative term. I mean, the mothers and fathers at home, I'm not calling your daughters heavy, but relative to the other athletes, a couple of pounds makes a big difference.
Well, we're talking of hundreds. Anja Huber then, winner here last year. We head next weekend to her home track in Bavaria. Can she go there with a gold medal in her hand? Slips as she loads.
What's this getaway? A 570, not a bad start at all, but she's going to need all of that and all the length of the track to be able to stay in front of her teammate, Marion Thies.
46.9, good momentum through the first corner. Only Donna Crichton's gone quicker.
Nice smooth line through 4 there. She's got 5 tenths in the bank here. This is where the track has slowed down. This is where the athletes are decelerating compared to some of the women at the top of the second heat. That 5/10 is down to 3/10 right now. Let's see what her speed is. Ooh, she steered quite hard on the second pressure there. Coming out of Kreisel, she'll probably only be 105. 104.4.
Oh my goodness.
That is not going to be enough.
108.5 for her teammate Marion Thies. That's a lifetime.
What can she stop the bleeding at? Is she going to be second? Is she going to be third? Can she stay on the podium?
She may not even stay on the
102.6.
podium.
I don't think so.
She's down in third place already. Second place. Her second fastest run, rather. She drops to fourth spot. She is out of the medals. Marion Thies and Noelle Piker's pace will take medals. Anja Huber will not. Wow.
That's a bit crazy right there. But you can tell on Kreisel, when she does a lot of work, that she's going to bleed some speed. She did have a much faster start. She didn't take advantage of that last step, unfortunately. She kind of slipped. That might be some of the ice conditions, too. Those cleats, they're little tiny pins in the shoes that engage with the ice, and when it's watery and slippery like it is, that might be causing some of the slippage that we've seen at the start.
Our final slider, the first heat leader, the only woman to win 2 races so far this season, Katie Uhlaender. Can she take a second win in Germany?
She's going to have to be at her best to get this done. Already a bit skiddy out of the groove. 5:76, forced fastest start on the second heat there. Smooth down to 3, but you can see the water coming off the back of the runners from that 2 to 3 transition. Nice entrance into 5. 6,400s in the bank, so she's taking advantage of that start deficit from Marion Thies, and she's going to need all 6,400s here by the bottom of the track. If she's got anything less than 4/10 now, she does. She has 5/10. She might have enough to stay in front.
Well, let's take a look at the speed on the exit of the Kreisel. Marion, 108.5, 107.
105.6, 3,500s. It's going to be tight.
It's going to be very tight indeed. This for her third win of the season, or for Marion Thies to take her second.
1,700s, 103.8. We just saw her go by our window here. Can she maintain this heading, this energy to the finish line?
It's going to be very tight to the 100th of a second. It is the 100th of a second. 102.48 is not enough. Marion Thies wins by 100th of a second.
Wowie.
Gold for Germany and silver by the tiniest measurable margin for Katie Uhlaender of the USA, with Noelle Piker's pace making it 2 American sliders in the top 3.
Katie is definitely going to be cussing. That one is such a tight, heartbreaking loss for Katie on a weather-affected day.
Wow, 100th of a second. That was so close, and, you know, just the blink of an eye difference, John.
Oh, 100th of a second. You can't blink your eyes in a 10th of a second. Try to blink your eyes. That took way more than 100th.
Well, the World Cup vest denotes our World Cup points leader, the yellow jersey on Marion Thies. She's had a really strong season so far, and she adds a second victory to her haul of medals. She's been in the top 3 now, 4 of 6 races this season. She joins Katie Uhlaender as a 2-time winner. Coach is looking pretty happy with that. Marion had a big smile on her face as well. John Montgomery, wind, rain, and whatever else they threw at her, she somehow had enough to overhaul Katie Uhlaender by 100th of a second.
She battled Mother Nature, she battled a start deficit, and she prevailed today by 1/100th of a second. That's racing, baby.
Well, there you see the final classified result of the top 20. Sarah Reed, a nightmare, as she finishes in 18th, and Shelley Rudman down in 16th spot.
Weiteren deutschen Sieg heute ja schon in der Zweier-Bob-Damen-Konkurrenz. Sehr erfreulich ist zu sehen gewesen aus deutscher Sicht mit Gold und Silber. Also Kathleen Martini, ihr Team, Gold, Sandra Kiriasis holt sich Silber. Und jetzt auch bei den Damen der Skeleton-Konkurrenz. Hier ein deutscher Sieg. Marion Thies setzt sich also durch. Vor Katie Uhlaender und Noelle Piker's pace. Uhlaender und Piker's pace beide aus den Vereinigten Staaten. Dahinter die Engländerin Mrs. Yarnold. Anja Huber aus Deutschland holt sich Rang 5, die natürlich, das kann ich mir vorstellen, sehr, sehr traurig sein wird, denn sie hat auch eine sehr gute Ausgangsposition gehabt nach dem ersten Durchgang, da war sie Zweite. und hat dann doch im zweiten Lauf dann ein paar Fehler gemacht, das dazu geführt hat, dass nur in Anführungszeichen Rang 5 für sie rausgesprungen ist. Die Block aus Österreich auf Rang 6.
So, Dankeschön, Marc. Danke an die Athletinnen und ich glaube, wenn man heute am meisten danken muss, das sind Sie, liebe Zuschauer, dass Sie hier durchgehalten haben. Also, was die 10 Minuten schaffen wir auch noch, oder? Also, auch jetzt wieder ist das internationale Fernsehen gerade in einer ganz kleinen Unterbrechung. Dann gibt es hier die sogenannte Flower Ceremony. Da wird mein Kollege John Morgan hier schnell ein paar Interviews machen. So, wir warten auf Katie Uhlaender. Katie is always late. So, ihr sagt, wenn wir nerven, gehen wir mal weg. Also jetzt brauchen wir gleich hier nochmal, Moment mal, wir wollten ja auf der Hand zählen, die haben wir noch 20, 4, 6, 18, 16, 18, 20, 26, 27 Zuschauer noch. Jetzt kommt die weg, ich habe noch eine Überraschung für Sie, aber.
A rainy Altenberg in Germany for World Cup number 6 of the women's skeleton season. Marion Thies leads the World Cup rankings ahead of a tie with Lizzie Arnold and Anja Huber. And Marion has just scored her second World Cup victory of the season, outing Katie Uhlaender from the first round lead by 1/100th of a second. Sarah Reid, a disappointing day for her, and Shelley Rudman will be happy to get back to bed suffering with the flu. Let's get down and hear from our top three. John Morgan is right there.
And a flower ceremony here in Altenberg for women's skeleton. Wolfgang Laut, longtime organizer of events here in Altenberg for over 2 decades, giving away the flowers. Great skeleton race that we had in the rain, and now we go to our third place finisher. Noelle Piker's Pace never finished better than 9th on this track before. You got to be elated.
I am so excited. I'm so excited, especially in this weather. It's really hard to judge how hard to steer, and I'm really happy with my finish, and it's been an interesting race to say the least.
Congratulations on a medal, and now out of our second place finisher, Katie, lost by 100th of a second, but still, you did have 2 great runs here.
Yeah, I mean, I did my best, tried to stay happy despite the weather, and it was a good race. You know, I'm ready for more.
Congratulations on another podium, and now Marion, not such a good start, but boy, 2 great runs down the track.
Yeah, it was different weather conditions, and the first one I had not such a lucky start number with 10, and the second one I was better. So I'm really happy with this result. It's my best on this track. So
congratulations, ladies.
Well, congratulations to all 3 of them, and thanks to John Morgan on behalf of our Olympic champion, John Montgomery. Thank you indeed to all of you for joining us here. Noelle Piker's Pace will be your guide through the men's skeleton race tomorrow, and don't forget, a week from now, we head to the oldest Kunsteisbahn, artificial ice track in the planet, to Bavaria in the deep south, and to Berchtesgaden and the Königssee track as we lead up to the World Championships in St. Moritz, Switzerland. Well, for everybody here in the FIBT TV crew, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for joining us, and don't forget, you can find everything else you need on FIBT.com, the championship website.
Die Geschwindigkeit sehr gut. Den wir beim Draufspringen.
Also die schnellste Mama, die ist im Skelett, der fastest Mom, 2 kids already.